said, and this was my tweet last week when this was happening, is who gives a shit if his base is pissed off? Why aren't people asking about the majority? What will it say to the majority who actually still believe in America and this myth that, there is apparently an equal standard and no one's above the law, that this guy can openly commit crimes and he won't even get indicted? And the fact that we let Republicans get away with it, even though Ken Starr, I'm going to do a deep cut, back in the day had no problem wasting millions of dollars and so much time in trying to investigate Bill Clinton over a messy blowjob and a lie because he said no one's above the law. But we're perfectly fine with a violent insurrection that killed several people, trying to influence and tamper with Georgia elections, massive alleged financial crimes in New York, and also, I forgot, taking national security documents that threaten our national security and our allies, and then lying about it and refusing to turn them over, even though the FBI nicely, gently, kindly asked for months. And we're going to say, listen. His base might get angry. So let's not do it. And as a reporter and a journalist, I'm not going to even tell you about the content of the alleged forthcoming indictment, which hasn't happened. I'm not going to tell you what he did. I'm not going to talk about how this is so unprecedented and dangerous. I'm not going to talk about the rule of law. I'm not going to talk about the majority. I'm going to submit to right-wing bad faith framing and instead wonder about white rage. And I'm going to placate white rage, infantilize white rage, and normalize white rage. But by the way, blacks and browns and Muslims, if you did this, War on Terror 2, Terror Harder.
Terror harder. Yes. Yes. That would be it.
Terror with a vengeance.
And just to go, because, our friend Kurt Bardella tweeted out a tweet that has gotten so much attention about MSNBC hiring former Senator John Kasich as a contributor to the show, Republican. John Kasich, on one of his first appearances on Ari Melber's show, former governor of Ohio, Kasich says, we should spend time figuring out why these people are so invested in Donald Trump and why they're so upset with their current economic situation in America. That's the real problem. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, is this 2016, the Redux, the deep dive into why white people are so in the bag for fucking Donald Trump when we know that it's one reason, racism, right? Like, can we just stop pretending that I need to understand how complex white people are? When in fact that 70 million people voted for the man more so than they did in 2016 because they have believed the lie that people that look like you and me are coming to terrify their little white suburban neighborhoods. And we got a caravan and there's going to be taco trucks on every fucking corner. Remember that? Like, it's just, I am so sick and tired of the media propping up these washed up Republicans, giving them plush jobs, helping to reform them, right? So that they can get on television and spout dumb shit. But the rest of us, we're denied not only the access, but also the monetary gain from telling the truth and being right.
It's all connected, and it goes back to the point of how this country and its institutions coddle white rage, normalize it, infantilize it, elevate it, and profit off of it. John Kasich has not had an original thought in 10 years. He is stuck in 2016, repeating the same talking points, and I'm glad you brought it up. And for those who don't know, I have to mention this. Every single major study done since 2016 has revealed that the major, not the exclusive, not the only, but the major motivator for a Trump voter is not economic anxiety.
No.
It is cultural anxiety. They're afraid of being, quote unquote, replaced by people who look like me and Danielle. At the January 6th insurrection, most of the people there were not poor. Many of them were middle class, upper middle class, and some person even brought their own jet. That average American in the Rust Belt drinking real coffee. With their jets. They take their jets to Dayton, Ohio. Respect to Dayton, Ohio. It's a great place. But you know what I'm saying? And so here we are with a remake because and I think it was Jay Rosen, who was a guest of ours.
Mm-hmm.
He said, and he echoed you. He says the industry that he follows and he studies. He's a media professor and he's a critic. He says they have not become agile enough to evolve and adapt to the changing circumstances. They're still stuck. They still do a both sides analysis because, and this is what I call my uncle defense. These folks are mostly white. It's part of an incestuous ecosystem. These folks remind them of their drunk uncle. This is what I mean by the drunk uncle, Danielle. Well, I have an uncle. His name is Chet. I like that uncle. He took me hunting. He's funny. Sure, he calls women broads, and he doesn't like them gays, and he's never met a Muslim, and he wears the MAGA hat, and he believes in replacement theory, and he voted for Trump, but he's really funny. And at Thanksgiving, he tells jokes. Sometimes he gets drunk and says some sexist jokes, but I love my Uncle Chet. It's their Uncle Chets. Yep. They normalize them. They humanize them. That's why it's like when the white shooter comes out, it's not a terrorist. It's not a super predator. Lonely, radicalized white man.
Yeah.
Lone wolf. So
empathy.
They're
we
able to
feel
humanize
bad for him.
And empathize with these people because the reality is these people come from their backyard, their hometown. When it comes to us, foreigners, aliens, terrorists, predators. And so it's an incestuous ecosystem, and the media is just a microcosm of all these other institutions where they're willing to placate and give 45 excuses for these folks. And meanwhile, I have to say this, Kasich gets a plum contract. And for those who don't know, in MSNBC, Fox, and CNN, a commentator position is one of the most plum positions that you can get in media. It's anywhere from $80,000 to $200,000. Once in a while, you come once a week. Sometimes you come twice a week. Sometimes you'll get paid for not even appearing. You'll get that salary. It gives
Looking at you, CNN, because that's what they do.
It gives you a title. And and I'll be very blunt about this. I've shared it when Kurt said this. I repeated it, and I was so shocked. My tweet went viral. Kurt is on almost every day.
Yes.
Kurt, you would think, has a contract. Kurt does it for free. Ellie Mistel.
Which, Waj, I did not know until the tweet. I text Kurt, and I was just like, wait a minute. Aren't you a contributor? And he was just like, Danielle, I haven't been a contributor since before the pandemic.
Yep.
I said, so you're doing like 10 hits a week for free?
He's doing it for free. Ellie Mistel is doing it for free. Danielle is doing it for free. Wajahat is doing it free. And what we get told is the following. We don't have the budget. I'm telling you straight up, we never lie to you on the show. We don't have the budget. So we're like, okay, they don't have the budget. And then we see John Kasich get this. Somehow, Danielle, they find a budget for Kasich and Republicans.
Yeah. And just I will just share my piece on the part. I stopped many years ago pursuing a MSNBC contract, probably right around the Trump era. So probably like 2016. So about 7-8 years ago. And the reason was, for me, and this is different from other folks, I did not want my voice and my social media controlled and policed by cable news. I say what the fuck I want to say. You don't get to own me because you could never pay me enough, right, to be able to control what I say and how I say it. And, so I am a person who, and I have said this to many people before, that even if somebody were to knock on my door from MSNBC and say, hey, do you want a contract? The answer would be no, because it is, in a lot of ways, unless you're looking to land a show on their network, it is golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
And I'm not interested, for me, in golden handcuffs. My podcasts are all independent. I can say and do what I want. And so I want people to understand that, there are people who absolutely have gone after, have asked, have done the work and are denied and are told now is not the time. We don't have the money. But apparently they have some type of white man savings account somewhere where they just dive in, come out with a bag of money and drop it on people's desks.